In 1981, the United States was hit by a severe economic crisis. The streets were filled with homeless people and many fainted from hunger. At that time, President Reagan was reading a grim economic report on TV. Sitting in front of the TV was Chris Gardner, an unemployed man with a family in crisis. He had once been a hard-working husband and father, but the harsh reality left him and his wife struggling to support their children. Chris's wife had to bear the burden of double pressure, working 2 jobs to make ends meet. Chris, on the other hand, had put all of his savings into a medical device, hoping to get rich quickly. But it ended in failure. The device couldn't sell, and the house was filled with unsold equipment, covered in dust that testified to his helplessness and disappointment. He hadn't paid rent for 2 months. The IRS had sent 2 tax notices, and his car was towed because of unpaid fines. Everything around him felt like a heavy mountain suffocating him. He hadn't smiled in a long time. However, fate often offers a faint light in the darkest moments. One day, Chris walked into a strange company, and everything there filled him with warmth and hope. Everyone seemed happy. Curious, he stopped a man and asked what he did for a living. The man smiled and said he was a stockbroker. Hearing this, Chris planted a dream in his heart. He wanted to live the same happy life someday. So he decided to pursue this dream. He applied for an internship, despite not having a high education, and his resume was rejected time after time. But he didn't give up. Every day he waited outside the company, hoping for that moment, until one day he finally met the HR manager. He didn't give up on the opportunity and personally handed over his resume, but once again, there was silence. Chris didn't lose heart though, and continued waiting outside for another whole month until he finally met the manager again. This time, to get the manager's attention, Chris lied, saying he was also taking a cab, and they happened to be going in the same direction. Inside the cab, the manager was focused on his Rubik's Cube and barely acknowledged Chris. But Chris didn't give up. He challenged the manager. "I can finish this Rubik's Cube before we get to the destination." The manager sneered, clearly not believing him. However, when the cab reached its destination, Chris had already solved the Rubik's Cube. The manager's smile disappeared, and he looked at this young man for the first time. Yet, life didn't let up on Chris. As soon as he finished the Rubik's Cube, he realized he didn't even have the $17 to pay for the cab fare. To avoid the driver's demand for payment, he had no choice but to run into the subway, feeling guilty and helpless. As he rushed into the subway, his bag fell outside the door. All his savings, all his hopes were lost in that moment.